us to start talking about play day teams number 1 and 2. We can't even transition nicely here. Bleed and Daystar go head to head, and unfortunately it is a very, very difficult story to tell for Daystar when you're going up against the number 1 ranked team in the region, regardless of whether they sit in first seed or not heading into playoffs. Guys, this is the roster that we expect to be headed to the Manchester Major. This is the roster that we expect to be doing the most damage.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know how much last week really mars that particular expectation that we're setting for Bleed this stage. It certainly was a disappointment, and I think Bleed identified even earlier than that in previous play days where they were still successful, that there are weaknesses in the team at the moment. They're playing far from perfect, and perhaps a light was shone upon that in the previous play day with that 5-7 loss to Elevate. Best of 3 format's really going to suit this team. So tonight, again, it's really just about solidifying themselves in the top 2, get that favorable seeding, get the bye, and in a one-sided matchup like this, being second versus last in the standings, Bleed should very much be dominant in this game, shrug off the previous one, and fully focus then on the playoffs ahead.
Second versus last. Let's talk about the latter of the two. Unfortunately, Daystar, they came into the league with such promise, or at least from my eyes, there was such promise. I had high hopes. We thought that they were going to get off to a rip-roaring start. You know, they made it close against Direwolves. Things got a little bit interesting, but it's fizzled out somewhat, Xenox, and it's always difficult to talk about the teams that aren't hitting strides, but this is a team that we never expected to do incredible things.
No, we didn't. It's been a rough stage for them. They've only got the 2 players at the moment that are actually above a 1.8 rating or 100 EPS, which is Neon and KZB. Doesn't speak well. I believe OO is actually Jack for what it's worth. So, I think this is a team that when I came into this stage, it was a matter of could they be better than South Asia? And unfortunately for Daystar, that loss to Hasib Warriors last week gave me the answer, which is that they're not. It's probably they're on that same level as a Hasib Warriors, as a Knock Knock, for example. In fact, they'd actually rather be on their level right now because they're dead last. 8th place, final game, final opportunity will be against Bleed. So it's essentially relegation if they can't win this game. And by relegation, I'm also mean elimination here, that they won't be going into the playoffs. Got to remember, there's only 1 slot. There's no LCQ. There are no second chances. Daystar would have to pull off the largest upset that I've seen in APAC in a long time, as you can see here from the stats.
Yeah. There's no two ways about it. I know it might sound harsh, but Daystar go into this with their backs up against the wall. Again, I said it last week, when your back's against the wall, there's only one place to go but forward. So hopefully Daystar can make it competitive. It's going to be incredibly difficult for them to be able to do so against Bleed, who are just... They're a cut above the rest at the moment, regardless of where you put Elevate and the victory last week, as Guz alluded to. Maybe that's just an off night for Bleed. We definitely are expecting Bleed to really pull through here. So if ever there was a team to have as your final game to decide whether you're going to stay in the league, I would pray to God that Daystar weren't up against Bleed. But regardless, that is how the cookie has crumbled. We haven't seen them play them yet, so it's only fair. It's a do or die against the toughest team in the league. Let's start to have a look at a bit of a head-to-head here, guys. I don't really know whether we're going to see an individual for Daystar pop off today, because it's going to be very hard to do so. But if there was someone, Neon has been a shining star.
Yeah, exactly right. I think against the kind of well-rounded systems that Bleed often present, being, that all 5 are chipping in, playing their roles correctly, it does make it challenging for an individual to stand up. Neon has had a relatively successful stage thus far, relatively successful in entry as well, sharing a large percentage of that, and a solid KD on that more entry and fragging style role. Turd has been, I would describe as a little bit hot and cold at times, and the cost probably doesn't reflect that as much as my memory is serving. 65 is actually still quite strong, and clearly his KD is good. He's a big difference maker in a lot of rounds, doing a good job at often bringing back a disadvantage. And so, yeah, excited to see how this little duel plays out. Neon, can he find himself inside of the server? And Turd, if things get a bit rough or the rounds are a challenge, can he be the one to step up for Bleed?
Yeah, him amongst a roster of It's almost star-studded players at this point. Let's go ahead and turn our attention to the Vetos, where we're going to be heading. I'd love to see just a chalet. I know we see it way too often here in the Asia region. In fact, chalet has been played 9 times. It gets banned out. Interesting. I did not expect Daystar to be the one to ban that out, but they feel as though they might have better luck going to Border. Xenox. Border's not going to be fun for them, mate.
Yeah, look, I don't think any map was going to be fun for them.
Fair.
Brutally being honest there. I think for Daystar, the factor of the matter is they could have gone to a map in which Bleed started with 1 less player every single round, and I think they'd still lose. That's just the difference between these 2 teams right now. You were talking about a team that is dead last, minus 22 round differential. They've only picked up 1 win so far this stage, which is all the way back, played 2 against Knock Knock, versus a Bleed Esports roster that up until last week looked invincible, got knocked down a peg, and now we'll be looking to respond and to feast on this Daystar roster. Border's great for that as well. I think Club, either way it was going to be a win, because Club gives Bleed that structure that I don't think Daystar would have been able to break down the defense of Bleed, for example. I think they also would have been completely outdone by Bleed attacks on Club. But Border even just further compounds what I think Bleed can certainly do to Daystar. Being an open map, they can abuse sites, they can bring certain operators. That Montang's probably going to need to get banned out, otherwise Bleed could abuse that. So yeah, very fascinating to see how much Bleed win this game by.
Guys, thoughts on Border?
Yeah, I'm just having a look at Dev's message in the chat we're talking about in terms of this being Bleed's insta-ban. Most occasions it has been, albeit there were a couple where it was one was their last ban, and most critically, they actually let it slip through very first play day, and that was against Hissib Warriors. And if we cast all our minds back to March 28, which feels like an eternity ago, it was only a couple of weeks, that was where Hissib Warriors actually got off to a really good start. They were actually dominant throughout the first few rounds, and then Bleed were able to just close the door, win 7 straight, if I remember correctly, match over. So revealing it here at the final play day, to me, isn't really a big shock factor. Intriguing that they're letting it slip through. Probably indicative that they're not really going to be playing it in best of 3s, and in a match so lopsided like this, they're happy to just go to a map. They're not going to show again, get the job done, and Border can go back to the back pocket.
Well, it's a somber story for Daystar here. They need to get something. They need to get rounds. They need to get points. They need to keep this competitive, because right now they are looking straight down the barrel of relegation, and it's not going to be fun for them. However, Bleed, they want to keep their top 2 spot. It's a beautiful storyline. Poetic. Almost as poetic as our 2 that we're welcoming in. Devin Mandy.
Thank you very much, Robert. That's very kind of you to say. Mandy, time to jump back into the ISS. The space station is ready to lift off, and Bleed and Daystar are awaiting some transmissions. What do we have to say about these teams? It is a David and Goliath matchup, as we so often see here in the Asia League.
Yeah.
But there are pretty decent stakes here, Mandy.
Yeah, so the way I see it for Daystar is essentially trying to close the gap in the round difference here, right? So currently, the way the standings have played out is that Daystar, Knock Knock, and Hissib Warriors are all on the same amount of points. They've all got the exact same record in wins as well. So at this point, I'm just looking to see if Daystar can actually close the round difference gap between them and Hissib Warriors, who are currently, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds a little better than them. Actually, that is quite a hard gap to close, to be honest. So yeah, I think for Daystar, they just need to look as competitive as possible. I don't think any of the bottom 3 are going to win their game today, and I think we've all predicted against that. So it really is just looking to see how competitive everyone is today to try and climb out into that 6th spot.
Yeah, realistically here, in order for Daystar to get into that 6th spot, they have to do 5 rounds better than Hissib do. So if Hissib gets 7-0'd, then Daystar have to lose 7-5. So yeah, that essentially means that Daystar's chances are really outside their hands. They will really be cheering for Hissib to get 7-0. But the way that Daystar can, in a way, control their own destiny is by actually getting points in this game. If they get to a 6th round, if we go to overtime, then they will get 1 point, and then round difference doesn't matter. Assuming Hissib and Knock Knock fail to get any points, they will just be outright above them on the standings. I actually think, Mandy, it would be quite an upset to see Daystar eliminated. The way that the stage has panned out, it really has seemed like Hissib and Knock Knock, the 2 South Asian teams, have been the weakest in the league. But Daystar losing their match last week to Hissib Warriors really shook that up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Daystar had what I thought was a real opportunity there to close themselves out. But yeah, apparently on Bank, they're just not good at the... what was it again? Was it Bank? I can't remember what they played anymore these days.
It was,
oh my gosh, I've lost it.
Bank. It was Bank.
It was, wasn't
7-3
it?
they lost
Yes,
it. Also,
that's right.
like, it wasn't even like a tight game, really.
It was not very close, yeah. I was pretty shocked, to be honest, when we saw that match came up. I think we all predicted Daystar to win that one, and then they didn't, except you. You predicted Hasib. So maybe it's just... yeah, I think maybe it's just the power of the DevMarter prediction.
Trolling.
You never know.
Well, you're actually beating me in predictions by 5% in this league.
I am quite proud of myself for that. Actually, no, I'm not. This league is not very hard
This
to
league
predict.
is very easy to predict. What are the only upsets that we've had this league? Hasib beating Daystar, Jalita beating Fury, and Elevate beating Bleed. I think they're the only upsets we've had across every single playday. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just means that maybe I went for some like upset and there wasn't an upset, and that is the difference between the two of us.
That is fair enough. That is fair enough. You've gone for the more exciting storyline, and I have not. That is okay. All right, we're gonna go border.
I didn't go exciting today, by the way. I picked all the obvious teams today, and we'll all look silly if Daystar wins this game.
What are your chances, or what are their chances, do you think, of Daystar actually being able to get 6 rounds?
6 rounds, I reckon 15% chance of getting 6 rounds and a 5% chance of actually winning the game.
I'm thinking, all right, Hasib play, what, Fury today, right?
Yes.
Correct? There is a chance. There is definitely a universe in which they get 7-0'd by Fury, in my opinion. But surely, if Daystar can get 6 rounds here, they'll be fine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If they can get 5, I think there's still a chance for them to make it to playoffs, to be honest.
Well, that would involve Hasib getting 7-0'd, and Knock Knock would have to get, I don't know, like 7-2'd or something, like 7-3'd or something like that.
I think that is very possible.
Then, well, true, but
know.
even then it comes down to a tie on round diff, and then it goes to the next tiebreaker, which I'm not actually entirely sure how that would work out. We'd have to see when we get to it. But what's most important here, the win condition for Daystar, like they can't leave it to chance. They have to just actually get some points out of this game. And so they start their defense. We're actually utilizing the Monty, which is kind of nice to see.
So far, so good for Bleed. East is not really all that well contested by Daystar.
Oh, hello.
They've been afforded a lot of control here. Now they're... Oh! That was not the play that we were spectating, was it? Okay, yeah. Player outside of break door. That would have been so cool. Nevertheless, first bit goes in the way of Bleed. Good trade, though, from Neon. I think Neon's a bit stuck here, to be honest, in terms of his playmaking opportunity. Oh, they're actually going to translate it down to the ground floor. So they've realized there's a player running away, and it's going to work. Asfi is going to claim the second.
Very nice. Yeah, the players highlighted in the head-to-head by the guys on the desk was really looking into Neon and what he can achieve, and Turds obviously being the entry on the other side. Neon already had 1 pick. He's actually feeling quite a lot of pressure. He's still holding on to break room here. The flashbang, he's going to go and re-peek after that goes off. Likely to lose this fight. He's so exposed here thanks to the Selma opening up his position. Spots the player for a brief moment, but doesn't land the shot he's looking for. Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh.
This is very dangerous. Asfi should confirm this. Indeed. Neon goes down. Hoven has also been taken fairly low on the Monty, but it doesn't really matter because it's just Jack left. No impacts and no goo mines. No chance. No hope in hell. He's completely cornered and taken down. A very convincing opening round for Bleed.
Pretty straightforward, all things considered, for Bleed. Yeah, he says cut off the players inside a break room. Managed to land pretty simple entry, not just that, but even on the ground floor, they somehow have a drone on the rotating player down there. It's another free pick for Asfi to a player who wasn't even looking at him, and yeah, really big round from him, especially 3k on the round on Nomad. Yeah, honestly, all things considered, pretty simple round there, Dev, from Bleed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Attack of border, you don't have to overcomplicate things. I think that's something that Bleed knows all too well. I like this, the strat. Like it was, you know, people say, oh, you go for an office or you go for an armory take. Well, they didn't really like clearly do either. Like in the end, they did execute through office, but the main part of the strat was just like taking east and then really putting the pressure on the people in break room and CCTV without overextending into them. Because often, like, if you're a CCTV or break room player, you kind of want to get cleared. That's why you've got stacks of util there. I really like the way Bleed just like exposed the position by opening up the wall into like waiting room, you know, of break room. This one to Neon's, not really going to explain it, but yeah, the one into the big square open area. Just open up that, you can kill them from east stairs. Bleed just open up some avenues and sit there for a while. Really cool. I like it.
We're going to go on a reattempt now of a different bomb site this time around, though. Not the top floor anymore. Daystar have decided to go down into the ground floor instead. So Bleed, early control into detention. Reaps is going to pop one of the first breach charges, and once again, Hoven looking to pose a threat on top of east stairs. No one is going to meet them on the other side. Once again, just a player inside of the 90-long hallway, and Mentalist is going to fairly easily be able to clear that position out for Hoven. Takes a bit of damage. I'm not sure where. Sounds like it's from his teammates. Yep, but alas, it's all right.
I do like the Monty as well. Really just makes things so straightforward and simple here for Bleed. You can just get free information, and teams like Bleed are really good at utilizing that info.
I think they're Capcan
sometimes all it
somewhere.
takes is just waiting. Yeah, the Capcan trap hasn't detonated though, has it? No one's taken the damage. There were Capcan traps on that doorway, I believe, and they've now taken out. Good pick though from Reaps on the long angle into office, and now these players on this roam are just being picked apart. Reaps has found one through the long hallway. Here's a whole mountain of Capcan traps on this doorway. Reaps is farming. Oh, nice shot from KZB. Very stylish with the Boss G. But in a 2v4, it ain't going to be easy from here out for Daystar.
Oh, there's a player right around the corner from KZB. It's Mentalist, who just gets on a drone, perhaps at the wrong time. KZB's just seen the barricade open to a ghost, but it doesn't matter because Mentalist jumps up from that, lands the headshot, and KZB goes down. It's just Momo Rin in the 1 versus 4. Oh my god, that was so scary for Mentalist. He actually saw a phantom ghost open the barricade.
That's Vigil for you. So Momorin's going to try and bide his time and look for picks here, but Bleed will probably be figuring out where he is just about now by process of elimination. That C4 will reveal. Oh, he's got to be in here, I guess. Momo. Oh, nice shot there onto Asfi. Don't swing him one by one. Mentalist has got a good cutoff, but he doesn't need to swing this. Momo might try and contest. He does swing, and he's lucky that he finds the timing right. It's a free kill. 2 very convincing rounds in a row for Daystar. I love that little fist bump as well we saw between, I think it was Reaps and Asfi. Very nice. Are these guys all boot camping at the moment?
I thought they all lived in the same house together.
Do they now?
I don't know
I
how
couldn't
true
tell
that
because
is.
there was no terrifying clown on the back wall like there is for Jalita.
I mean, I thought they all lived together. Didn't they?
The thing is, all their cameras are lit up like they live in gamer dens, like in the basement. So I can't tell whether they're actually sitting next to each other or not because there's not enough light to see anything.
The interior of the place that they're in looks like the same, right? I mean, I guess we're going to see player cams in a little bit anyway. But
I hope so. Can we have a look at player cams after the replays production? I don't know if that's possible.
I swear, it looks like the same house.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I haven't pieced it together. One day we'll see player cams again, I'm sure.
We'll talk about it again.
Chris, we want player cams, please, mate. With Bleed, thank you. It's coming. It's coming, guys.
It's
Don't
happening.
worry. Production are onto it.
Production are cooking in the kitchen.
I can hear them.
Now.
I can hear them. They got out the saucepan. They
oh, yeah.
There we go. Okay, so...
Well,
in Hoven's camera, you can actually see that's Turd next to him. Reaps and Asfi must be sitting next to each other because they were the 2 that fist bumped.
Yeah.
Who's in the middle then?
Mentalist looks like he's in...
He's on the edge, right?
No, maybe he's not. Maybe
is he in the same room, or is he... Because it's the same curtains in Mentalist and Hoven. You know what I feel like? We're in GeoGuessr right now. It's the same curtains in the 3 cams. No, I want to have a look at Bleed production. I don't care about Daystar. I want to have a look at Bleed.
It's all right. It's all right. We have identified they do, in fact, play together in person. That's exciting.
I have a side topic as well, Mandy, to do with these player cams.
Hey?
Who sits in the middle? Usually you have your in-game leader sit in the middle, which would be Mentalist, but he looks like he's on the edge.
Yeah, that's a good question. It kind of looks a bit like... I have no idea. It kind of looks like Asfi's in the middle. No? Am I going crazy?
And Asfi's name is... Oh, hello. There you
It's
go.
matter,
He's
'cause
taken
Daystar-
down.
I was going to say, yeah, they're kind of like clawing back this one a little bit.
Well, they found one pick. Don't get too excited, man.
I mean-
If Neon drops and finds another one here, I'm on the same page. Oh! Oh, come on.
Oh, dear.
Third start. Don't fumble this. And Mentalist just found a 2-piece. Yeah, I think Neon is a little bit cooked here.
I really
Bleed.
thought... Yeah.
Circling, and yeah, he's done.
I really thought Neon was going to do damage there, to be honest. I was like, oh yeah, he's doing it. He's running out on balcony. And then he didn't once the players and customers. That was disappointing. Nevertheless, yeah. Bleed with another attack. To be honest, I think we were so distracted, we didn't see enough of it. But it's going to force Daystar to take their tactical timeout. And I think previously, ED has mentioned to us that he does find it a little frustrating that he's got to take the tactical timeout pretty early with these guys because they do struggle to get that momentum in the early game and actually find their footing. So yeah, once again, super early tactical timeout for this team. I think we've seen them take it on round 3 for the last, like, every playday almost, Dev. And yeah, it's been pretty rough.
Yeah. It's hard. I almost wonder at this point, like, do you keep taking the tactical timeouts early in the game? Because I, to be honest, haven't actually seen it have much success. Like, do you just kind of let it roll on and then take it where you would typically take a tactical timeout? I guess the problem here is that obviously border defense, while it's not free border defense, you should be winning 2 ideally, at least. And they've just been picked apart. Like, Bleed are really, for the most part, just sitting out on windows, opening lines of sight and holding their angles and being patient, gathering information, and Daystar just keep exposing themselves to what Bleed are fishing for picks.
I agree with that. That round in particular, it looks like there was very little entry work going down from Bleed. I mean, the 3 players that we were doing the most spectating on were the players like outside of break, balcony, outside detention, outside main, that type of thing. And yeah, I'd have to agree with you. A lot of these gunfights are happening perhaps too early. I think with Daystar, they don't really look like they know what they're doing in terms of power positions, pathing, going back into the bomb site. They just look pretty lost on the map, to be honest. And yeah, I think Bleed have just got a really good understanding of what they need to do to find some of these early free picks that are going uncontested.
Well, I don't mind the Solace pick here from Daystar. Just try and starve some of that information. But I still think Bleed are going to be pretty solid here. Like, it's so hard to count out this team. They're the best in the region for a reason. I guess the standings don't currently reflect that. That's something we could be talking about, Mandy. This is a bit of a redemption opportunity
Well,
for
are
Bleed.
they the best team in the region?
That's what I'm just asking you.
Because, like, no, but you
they
just
lost
said
to
that the
Elevate.
standings don't reflect that. What do you mean they don't reflect that? They aren't, though.
Because
Elevate's
no, because Elevate.
best team in the
Exactly.
region. Yes.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't
this
think my
is some
brain is
serious
working at 100%
semantics.
capacity. Absolutely.
Look at this
lost it.
execute! Look at this execute! They're going for it! The EMP's
Oh,
come
C4.
out. Another EMP! No, it got EMP'd. The C4
Oh my
went out, but it
God.
got EMP'd.
Oh my gosh, you can see it
Genius
on the
from the
ground.
Thatcher.
Oh my
and it's
gosh.
still disabled. Reap's able to cover to perfection now with the Glaz. That is beautiful. And that is a way to use Thatcher creatively. Everyone just thinks of him as countering wall denial, but no, you can use him. There's the C4 finally
so
taken
cool.
down. So smart. And now the shield taken out as well. Reaps takes another kill away with him. While Mentalist has gone down, this should be a pretty solid post plant. It's really hard to kill Reaps here on this balcony, even low HP. KCB doesn't have time to do anything other than just jump on the kit, and Reaps is there for him. Beautiful rush there from Bleed.
Yeah, really solid stuff. Completely catching Daystar off guard. And man, the EMP onto the C4 that landed right next to the planter of Mentalist going down as well was really the cherry on top of the cake for that particular execute for Bleed. That was really awesome. They did that really quickly, completely caught off Daystar off guard. They were just simply not ready for it. And even the pieces of the puzzle for the defense that might have been able to deny that somehow denied themselves as they tried to land the C4s. They tried to go for swings. Reaps just there for the cover. Really well executed from Bleed in record time.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by
Yeah, I'm loving it. 4 rounds in a row on the attack. Now, the last time we saw Bleed play this map, it was against Hasib's Warriors. And remember, they actually really struggled at the start. They lost the first 4 rounds in a row. And then they switched it up and won 7 in reply. So, yeah, I don't know what to say about that for Bleed. It was actually their defense they were on last time when they lost 4 in a row. Maybe they're just a stronger attacking team than they are a defending team on Border. But I think that, as we've seen, Bleed are a team that once they find their momentum, they can be very hard to pick apart. And so starting strong this game, even on their favored side, I think will give them a lot of momentum moving into the second half.
Heading out to defuse a bomb.
Bleed looking good so far, and it's a pretty grim story for Daystar if they don't get a single point out of this, or even 5 rounds is what we were theorizing to maybe be enough.
Yeah.
Very unlikely. Yeah, they're essentially out of playoffs contention from this game alone.
Attackers drop the diffuser.
And right
That's
now,
right.
it's certainly looking to be that way.
I mean, if they get less than 5 rounds, then there's almost nothing.
0%
There is nothing.
chance.
Yeah, there's a 0% chance, right? Like, so
Yeah.
if this is a 7-4 or worse in favor of Bleed, then Daystar are cooked. There's no way that they can jump over Hasib. And then it'll just be whoever has a better round difference after the Hasib and Knock Knock games will make it through the playoffs, which would be pretty exciting for the South Asia region. I'll just say that. Like, obviously, Daystar, a team from SEA, but we've never really had a South Asia region, a South Asia team go forward and not only represent teams that represent the region at a major, but really take any of the big names down from Southeast Asia. So it would be a big opportunity for Knock Knock and Hasib. Daystar got to fight for their chance to be in that conversation here.
Reaps looks like he's found a potential hole in the bomb site. Rotation from all the way down at the bottom east going to tell us that Castle Barricade being taken down early does mean that they've got access looking into the bomb site now. There is a player just on the other side of the rotation going into... Oh, actually misdroned. On the soda machine inside of Tells. No, they know. They're going to send in a grenade. No, it's not going to land, though.
They don't know, I don't think.
They don't know. I think you're right.
KZB should have a decent idea here, but good coverage. It doesn't matter. They didn't know. They were ready for it anyway. Momo Rin, though, does have a big opportunity on this retake. Him and Hijack have now gone back upstairs. Oh, that's a big pick. 2v2. Daystar's best chance thus far of finding a round win, and it comes down to this retake. How do they play it, though? Oh, just rushing on in. That's a risk and a half. Hijack now has to 1v2. The timing wasn't there. The C4 is gone. And the Hijack doesn't know where the second player is on the long angle. Turdster's got him dead to rights. A nice easy lockout for Bleed after they made that execute work. That is 5 attacks in a row on Border.
Yeah, look, valiant effort there, I thought, on the retake from the last 2 players of Daystar. And by the time it actually hit that 2v2 situational moment there, they sort of like fumbled the bag a little bit. Reeves being able to find his easy pick from inside the bomb site, not that well contested, and then Turd as well on the cutoff from the bottom east stairs as well, being able to find the last player. And Daystar, once again, sort of crumbling to a fairly simple direct take from Bleed, finding a hole in the defense and exploiting that to perfection. Daystar really looking not competitive at all in the server right now.
That's such a shame to say, but it's just how it pans out so far. Well, Daystar need 5 rounds at bare minimum to stay in the conversation, and even then they would need a bit of a miracle out of the Hasib and Knock Knock games to have any chance of making it to the playoffs and getting in the top 6. I mean, we didn't expect Daystar to be contesting with teams like Bleed, but looking back on their stage, getting 7-1 3 times, potentially on their way to the similar result, or even worse in this game here, does not bode well for them. And Bleed really are just taking no prisoners. They're fired up. Their most recent game was a quite gutting loss to Elevate, as we said, particularly because they didn't even get any points out of that game. They're now 2nd place in the standings instead of 1st, and it will come down to how they go in this game. I mean, if they get as many rounds as possible, if they don't drop any rounds, then they'll be looking really solid for taking down or taking over Elevate on the standings.
Hovered with early control on top east as well. Player inside of Mezzanine is going to rotate all the way back inside of Break, but last time around, Asfi over on the balcony has been pretty lethal in taking down these players early on. C4's going to be tossed out onto the balcony, and it does sink onto Reaps, but only to half HP. Doesn't take him down. KZB in a world of hurt at the moment. It's going to look for the peek outside of the balcony, aided by the Yokai drone of Hijack, but it's not going to work.
Nice! That was really good there. The staircase,
Nice.
infamously difficult for Montaignes to play on staircases, and it did allow that impact to get right underneath his feet and deal maximum damage. Now, KZB, oh, he's completely shut down. Asfi and Mentalist are both low HP, but numbers are in favor of Bleed. Despite that, they could easily let this round slip away. They have to be ultra cautious. Neon, oh, he's so aggressive right here. He's looking for more, and he is punished quite handily. What little chance there was has almost dissipated now for Daystar.
Getting a bit over-aggressive there, I thought, was Neon trying to desperately look for another pick. Well cut off by Reaps. 10-1, by the way, is Reaps at the moment in the server. Pretty nuts, but nevertheless, Jack in the 1 versus 3 is going to shut down Turd, but this round should be over fairly shortly unless Jack can make some big work happen at the moment, the top floor.
Bleed in their Elevate game, we marked that they struggled at closing out numbers advantages. For their sake, I hope it's not the same story here. That's a lot of damage from Mentalist there. Mentalist is low HP, only 1 bullet required. He doesn't need to overpeak this. This is how you start losing 3v1s. Jack just needs to land 1 bullet, and it is straight between the eyes. Another one! That's the down onto Asfi! The first chance Daystar have had, and it comes down to Jack's heroics. A 1v1 from the guy that is 10-1 at the moment, Reaps. The Chinese demon ready to take on this Legion. Diffuser in hand. And he forces it down. Jack, oh, he baits it well, but it doesn't matter! Massive from Reaps. Game sense of a god. The spray through the wall. No second chances needed. Match point, 6-0 for Bleed.
And from here on out, Daystar literally needs to be perfect. If they didn't have to look competitive earlier, now they do. Bleed with a 6-0 lead at the moment in this series. We have not had an easier looking game of Rainbow Six in a very long time, Deb. I'll tell you what, this has been a pretty simple affair for Bleed on Border.
That's right, and Bleed, funnily enough, haven't actually had many one-sided games. It's all been 7-4s and 7-3s so far. That's the only 2 scorelines from which they have won. They have, of course, lost to Elevate 7-5, but they haven't had any 7-0s, 7-1s. Daystar, on the other hand, got 7-1 3 playdays in a row by Jolita, Elevate, and Fury. So that's the top 3 teams outside of Bleed. If Bleed can 7-0 them, which is looking very possible now, not only is Daystar out, but they have just been shattered. The only team that they managed to beat is Knock Knock. They lost to both Hasib's Warriors and Direwolves. And these top 4 teams have completely dominated Daystar in every single time they've met in the server. Reaps right now, 11 kills, 1 death. And he's looked phenomenal. He's playing supportive roles. He's clutching up when it's needed. And he's back into form.
Yeah, crazy game so far for Reaps, and overall for Bleed in general, I think they've just, looked really in their element on Border, but honestly, it doesn't look like they're revealing too much, to be honest. Like, the way that they're playing it, it's fairly, I don't want to say standard, but it's just not, they're just not that challenged, to be honest, in all the ideas that they've brought in, whether it's complex or whether it's simple, and I think, Daystar have really got to change things up, I think, between now and Stage 2, so actually be able to look competitive. What on earth is Asfi doing? Okay.
Keeps running outside. He's actually,
keeps running.
I like this.
That's exciting.
Kurtz is in a really naughty spot. Oh, that is beautiful.
Oh,
Surely
God.
a second one. No, the player behind. We'll finish off Daystar.
Oh my god. He almost just ninja dropped on that guy. That was crazy.
Unfortunately, still couldn't make it work regardless. Hijack is on a really awkward long angle here, but hang on a second. KZB, he's found a big pick. That's Asfi, the player in CCTV. That does make Bleed's situation a lot more claustrophobic. Oh, Reaps gets the eyes, and he gets the down. Now Daystar are on the ropes. 2 players left up. Without the map control they were looking for. Without the man advantage that they had garnered for themselves. And Reaps is hungry for more. Sprays, sees the cross. KZB is desperate now. These 2 attackers quite separate, as Bleed look to fall back into advantageous positions. Oh, wall bang from Hoven. Hijack in a 1v3. But this game has never been close. What a shot there through the wall. First one done. 1v3 was needed. Last round from Neon, and he didn't get it. Now let's see if Hijack can make it work. Oh, Turdster's calling the early GG.
Oh,
No stuns, no flashes, nothing available for Hijack except his gun, and Mentalist swipes him out of the server. No contests, no chance. Bleed knock Daystar out of the playoffs with a 7-0.
Fun game for Bleed. They look all smiles at the moment in their team house that we spoke about a little bit earlier. These guys, the vibes are high. You've just got a 7-0. They're feeling good going into playoffs. Easy as you do it. Job is done. Business is taken care of. They are, what can they be now in first seed at all? Or do Elevate still need to be contested for it?
I guess we'll have to find out. That was a 28-minute game of Rainbow Six Siege, one of the shortest that I have ever seen, as Bleed are asserting themselves as one of, if not maybe, the best team in Asia. As we toss it back to the desk.
Thank you very much for that. Yes, with that, they have 100% secured second seed. What's wrong, guys? What's
Most
wrong?
of my ranked games are longer than that. That was
Yeah.
the epitome of speedrun. Yeah, I mean,
That
look,
was.
coming into the day, it was really a case of are Bleed going to be able to easily brush off last player day. This is a match where they should be dominantly winning. Maybe not quite 7-0. That's the obvious extreme, but they came in, got the job done. And Reaps, a player who's round to round can sometimes be inconsistent, had a really good cost today, absolutely farmed, and we didn't need to see the likes of Turd Clutch rounds up. So yeah, really good performance from Bleed. Unfortunate for Daystar, we really did put them on the pedestal of being a potential dark horse.
Yeah.
Now that's all but petered out.
As I started to allude to there, they have locked in top two, so no one can take top two away from them. They go directly to a semi-final, and now it's about the Elevate and Direwolves match to see whether they're first seed or second seed. Doesn't make a difference, though. Bleed are looking very good, Xenox. Very, very comfortable. I don't think this might be rough, but I've never seen a team look so comfortable and at ease.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really solid performance, mentioned a couple of times in the cast as well, a kind of bounce back game, redemption for last week. But, Elevate's a good team. It's not impossible to lose the best of one. We've seen teams as good as Bleed, drop games in other regions as well. So I don't think they should have taken that too much to heart. I don't think they would have, but certainly showed this performance in this particular game that there is a gulf in the gap between the top teams in the Asia League and the bottom teams. Unfortunately for Daystar, that's going to be the end of them. No playoffs. And look, they kind of started well, and it all just fizzled out really as the stage progressed. They just kind of kept getting found out. So unfortunate end for them, but for Bleed, talk about peaking heading into the playoffs. That's a really redeeming win for them.
It is very, very unfortunate, as you mentioned, Daystar. I had high hopes for them, but that's just my bias of a former great coming through as a coach. That's on me. That's on me. And I'm sorry if I alluded to everyone else should be excited for that, but that's just not the case.
Not to butt in too much here, but
please.
The other big positive storyline for South Asia off the back of this matchup is South Asia is going to be in playoffs. Now, we don't know whether it'll end up being Hasib Warriors or Knock Knock. We need to wait for the other results for those two respective teams today. But that's a big improvement for that region to make it into the playoff bracket. Daystar now truly eliminated. All three of those teams, for context, are drawn on 3 points. But Daystar, especially off the back of tonight, are trailing massively in terms of round diff. So
I made the comment last week. I said it's going to come down to all three lose, but who loses the best? The round differential is going to be the difference maker.
Could certainly be the case in which Hasib would be the ones to sneak through, but it is a 3-round margin between the two South Asian teams. So yeah, that's another storyline to tack on for all the rest of the night.
Who loses the best? There's such tact in that. Xenox, you really know how to make it sound incredible. But look, let's look forward for I guess Bleed as a roster, convincing throughout BO1 stage, a little blemish on their mark against Elevate, which I'm sure we'll actually be able to hear about in the interview shortly, Xenox. But has any of that opinion changed for you? Do you think that there is a contending team in BO3s that could really push this the distance?
I mean, yeah, because I think it's less to do with Bleed though. I
Okay.
rate Fury, I rate Elevate, I rate these
Sure.
teams. Jalita Direwolves maybe not as much, but I think Fury and Elevate on their day could certainly pull off an upset, and still would be an upset even with Elevate having beaten Bleed last week in a best of one. I think ultimately Bleed deserved that respect, what they've been able to do internationally, what they were able to do in the back half of 2023.
Yep.
They showed again tonight that their qualities on full display. But I didn't look at last week's result as a slight on Bleed. I looked at it more as a
Sure.
positive for Elevate, what their best can look like, what we've seen from Fury when they're at their best as well. It's a 3-horse race, and Bleed have just kind of got their noses in front right now.
I guess it's all about perspective, isn't it? I think that it probably speaks volumes again to the opening statement of this show and the statement of this league as a whole, which is it is incredibly competitive. You know, on their day, Shalita could well and truly upset any team in that top 3. So it really just goes to show that I think from top 5 down, you know, even Direwolves, which we'll see coming up next, there is always that potential. And by the way, Direwolves could play absolute spoils for Elevate here. So we're not, I'm not writing that off the cards just yet. There's always that potential. Guys, I mean, what else is there to say? It's a short match, so there's really nothing to break down in that respect. We've already given the permutations for Daystar here and Elevate. They're just, sorry, not Elevate, Bleed are just looking like a very comfortable form. I mean, do you want to open the conversation up a little bit and maybe talk about the league as a whole? You know, who really does have that competing factor? Who can really make it, I guess, to second place? Do you think that this will just be an Elevate win after this break? Is that what you're expecting?
Oh, it's so hard to say. I mean, I'm anticipating it to the top 2 to likely remain the same. However, Fury will capitalize upon any blemish if there is one from Elevate in that match. So I don't really know.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's so difficult to break this down. Very dominant matchup, but that bodes really well, I think, for Bleed. They secure that advantage as well in terms of the bye, so they will skip the quarterfinals straight into semis. With the mid pack being quite close, we don't necessarily have a great read as to what their path to the major would look like, but it certainly should be one that's favorable. As Jake said, probably is a 3-horse race, and so with only 2 teams getting that advantage, makes things very, very intriguing for that battle for the one and only slot to the major. I think irrespective of where the seeding goes, it's going to be super competitive, and it's going to be a case of who's better on the day at the end of it. So yeah,
it's fun. That's always fun, isn't it? Put it down to a chalked mental on the day that could potentially ruin your day. But it is time to welcome in Mentalist. That's a terrible segue. It's not even Mentalist. It's Reeps.
Hi, it's me.
Reeps, what is going on, man? I don't think we've ever had you on an interview before, have we?
Yeah, I did.
I've got to ask you. You're known as a bit of a shit poster. Is this something that you that you feel is true? Is this a true representation of you?
I already hear my teammate laugh me through the table. Okay, I guess it's true.
Rapes, I have to ask, did you want to do this or did you get set up to do this?
I get set up. My manager historics. He just said, "You're supposed to SV," and then he said, "No, Rips."
I do want to ask. I do want to ask a serious question though. Of course, you guys did lose to Elevate last week, but it was only a best of 1. Did you take a lot of learnings from that game now heading into the playoffs?
I think compared to SI, I think we kind of sloppy after SI. We just didn't take it seriously. But after the Elevate lose, we just we gotta focus out. We gotta lock in, or we're gonna lose to the spot to major. So yeah.
Now, Reeps, assuming everything goes okay for you and the team, we're expecting you in the grand final. Who do you think is going to be the other team you'll be fighting for that major slot in the grand final?
Fury. Hopefully we don't get found again.
Well, I mean that actually identifies a conversation for us on the desk. We constantly think about who it's going to be in that grand final, but it's good to hear that you kind of follow. I think it's Jake's sentiments most of all in that Fury are probably the second most competitive. Today, look, I don't like to dwell on easy games, if that's a way to put it. But what's the mentality like coming into a game like today? Because to be completely honest with you, that looked very calm, very easy, very collected in the server. What kind of prep do you take into this?
I think before the game, Julio said the fundamental is not good as us, so they're probably gonna do some aggressive, do some aggro play. So we just calm down, hold the angle. We have good info, so we just take take their aggression really well. Yeah,
Jeez,
just 2 days.
Just a big brain, mate. That's all that matters. Reaps, we always give everyone the floor here to, I guess, say what they wish to say. Keep it PG, keep it family friendly. What would you like to say before we let you go?
Oh my God. I don't know how best be. Okay. Anyway, thank you guys for supporting Split Esports.
Look at him behind. Say hello to him for us, and we'll chat to you soon, mate.
Thanks, Reeves.
Thank you.
Oh,
Poor he's been stitched up there. He has been so stitched up. He's gone in a top farm for the team and basically carried them to the 7-0, and then they throw him out of the bus and force him to do the interview. That is just that is horrible. That's terrible.
And he really, I mean, he is known as a shitposter. I've never met anyone like him and Dird are a match made in heaven. I tell you what, they are very interesting on the same team. But look, one takeaway I actually had from that is that last question. To be honest, and I'm sure the viewers at home would understand, that's kind of like a throwaway question, right? Like, what prep do you bring into a game like this? But to get that kind of answer where it's like, no, Julio actually prepped us and warned us that something was going to happen. They listened to that feedback, and then they go in there and demolish 7-0 guys. I don't know whether that speaks volumes about the team, whether it speaks volumes about the management, but all in all, Bleed look incredible. They are headed into playoffs in either first or second seed. We're going to have to wait and see. Fortunately, not for too long. Elevate versus Direwolves. It's coming up after this short break.